Look what Apple's doing. Apple, like any other smart business, they said, well, guess what? Instead of building a factory here in America, we're just going to go over to India. Apple eyes India for iPhone production as China faces 54% tariff. So Apple, instead of doing what Trump thinks they're going to do and build a factory here, which is going to take 3 years, try to get employees in here, try to source all of the material from different places in America, which we don't have enough, uh, particularly like cobalt to make batteries. We got to get that from Canada, which is why free trade is good. Apple eyes India for iPhone production as China faces 54% tariff. So Apple said, the hell with going through China. We're not going to pay that tariff. We're going to continue to get low cost over in India. India, which produces 15% of Apple's iPhone's output, has been imposed a 26% tariff by the US. Although the rate is less severe than imposed on China and Vietnam, it is challenging in the short term, but could reap benefits in the long run. So 26% compared to 54%. We're going to up that 15% of iPhones. We're going to try to get that to about 30 to 40%. Apple said, we getting around this. Let me see. Gee, they don't want to give me no good articles. Apple's plan on Newsweek says Apple's plan to source more iPhones from India may be a double blow to China. Apple is planning to source more iPhones from India in an attempt to avoid high tariffs President Trump has imposed on China, according to the article in the Wall Street Journal. The reported shift to India, with which China has a close and often hostile rivalry with, could be a double blow to the Asian economic giant, whose decade-long dominance in manufacturing Apple's flagship iPhone may be coming to an end. Now, I don't know if you guys remember when we were talking about the whole situation with Ukraine versus Russia. Well, China and India, they share a border. China and India, they've been going at it. Russia's been supplying India with tanks. India's been helping out with Russia, not for the war, but they just been helping out. Now, China and Russia, they have a good relationship. Well, it's not good, it's stable. So everyone's backdooring everyone. So now if Apple moves all of their manufacturing from China and goes to India, they're still going to get a lower price than what they would be getting in China. But this is going to be messed up for China, which is going to be make them more angry, and this might actually push them towards Taiwan. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll get into the semiconductors, maybe if they mention it in this article. The context: Trump's escalating trade war with China sent Apple stock tumbling, to the worst 3-day performance in 25 years. The president announced a 34% 34% tariff on China last week at the top of 20% levy, in a move the Trump administration says is aimed at spurring the country to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. China responded with its own retaliatory 34% tariffs on U.S. goods. On Monday, Trump doubled down on tariffs, announcing he would oppose another 50% levy if China did not revoke his tax on American products. If implemented, that will push U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports to a total of 104%. So 104%. If it's $100, it's going to be $204. If an iPhone is $1,200, it'll be $2,600. Meanwhile, India has been hit with a 26% tariff, less than half of Chinese current 54%, and only a quarter of its final 104% tariff if Trump follows through with the threat. Here we go. This is going to break it down. How much tariffs could add to iPhone costs? The current 54% tariffs on Chinese goods could add around $300 to $550 hardware costs on an iPhone 16 Pro. That model with the 256 gig currently retails for $1,100. That cost would double to around $600 if Trump imposes the 104% tariff. So as of right now, an $1,100 phone will be $1,700. Americans can't afford that. And if you move Apple to America, we definitely won't be able to afford it. That's why we need this cheap labor. It's yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, yeah, they don't have child labor laws and it's bad. I'm sorry. That's if not, we won't be able to survive. It's just the way the world is. It's unfortunate, but India's 26% tariff would only add like $150 to it. Trump has repeatedly suggested that companies can save money and avoid paying the tariffs by manufacturing in the United States. But labor costs in the US are significantly higher than in China. An iPhone that might cost $30 to assemble in China would cost around $300 to assemble in the United States. So it'd be 100 times more. It'd be 100 times more. So that means 100, $1,100 times 100. And that's where you get $30,000 to $100,000 is how much iPhones would cost here in the States. It costs about $30 to put one together in China. It'd be 100 times more here. And guess what? They're going to have to make their money off of it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be $100,000. It'll probably be around like 15 to 20,000. They just say 30, but this is where they're getting these estimates from. And that's if they're manufacturing in the United States. Do you know the rest of the parts? They aren't here in America. We don't have those manufacturing plants here in America. That's why we send it to other countries because they already have it and we get it for a lower price. When Donald Trump has those landscapers come out to his house that he ain't paying, is he paying the top white guys? No. Donald Trump was paying Hispanics to clean, to do the landscaping, and he wasn't paying them, but he was hiring them because he could pay them a lower cost. That's the American way. That's the world way. That's why all these countries get their stuff outsourced from a different place.